Hey guys, welcome to Words Matter, not content, a conversation. Today's topic is self-help overload.
Okay.
Ooh, It's something I feel really passionately about.
Yeah, I'm going to give you the floor.
Yeah, maybe this will be more of a rant. We have yet to see how this will pan out, but
Fuck the notes. Go on.
the idea is like you get on TikTok or Instagram or whatever social media platform and you're getting these messages that's like, rise and grind, take a cold plunge, wake up at 5 a.m. And then the next one's like, rest and relaxation, focus on yourself, be centered. You don't need to be going all of the time or whatever. And then like, there's another one that says like, vulnerability is everything, be vulnerable. We say this. And then other ones like, not everyone deserves access to you. Like, keep things to yourself. It's like, oh my God. And then, or like, forgiveness is key, forgive people, and otherwise it's like, no, make a boundary or move
Savage.
on. Exactly.
Be savage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm like, God damn. And it's just like this whiplash effect of advice constantly. And like, we recognize the irony. We do. Like,
Yeah, we are one of those people.
we are doing this. And I will say, we are doing this. And when we first started talking about doing this podcast, this was something that I brought up.
It is?
I was like, there's a million people giving advice, and who are we to put more of that into the world? And, you know, we've also talked about how, like, just having the outlet's really incredible, and that if no one
Sure.
watches it, we still really enjoy making it, and it's
course.
added a lot of value to our lives. So, like, that's how we've gotten around this. And I do honestly believe that there's an audience we can help, whether it's five
Like,
people
wait a
or
minute.
5 million. But with that being said, this platform, this like machine, this self-help machine is just overwhelming at times for me.
Rant over?
No, that's just the beginning, but I'm going to allow you to add in some thoughts. How do you feel about this topic?
Yeah, I think 100% agree. Also, yes, let's recognize that we are essentially adding to the problem, if you will, right, to this conversation.
Yeah.
I like to think that we're slightly different because we're focusing on communication, not necessarily just all these other things, but we're trying to find a niche, and we're also trying to do like role play of how to articulate certain feelings to people. That's significant, but I'm sure there's somebody out there doing that on the opposite spectrum, right?
Yeah.
So like, it is what it is. Yeah. You're telling me that the shocker is that the internet is not the end all be all of how you should be. Yeah, of course we're going to have opposite ends. And I think that it is overwhelming as fuck at times. If you can't regulate it somehow on your own, which I'm guessing that's where we're going to go, because we haven't really discussed this one too much today. This is just something that you want to talk about. I'm here for it. I love it.
Yeah.
So I'm going to just let you continue to. Actually, I do want to say one thing.
Okay.
I do want to talk about like when we decided to start this show, that was an emotion that you had.
Yeah.
Right. And my response, I think, is significant, right? Which was, Brusha, you like R&B. That's what you love. That's your kind of music. Same. We love that. We both have that in common. And your favorite artist is?
Lucky Day.
So Lucky Day, if you'd like to be on this show, please, Jesus, just know that you going to turn this girl all the way out. She's ready to go. Okay.
Ready to go.
But that's your favorite artist. So if I told you that's it, you're not allowed to listen to any other R&B artist ever, would that be okay with you?
Yes, but I know that doesn't help your point. So no, I wouldn't.
The point is like there's multiple artists that you want to listen to because they bring a different perspective. And that's what I ultimately told you when we started this show is like, hey, our points may be almost identical to this person, but they may land differently for that person over there because
the way we say it and who we are.
However we're doing it, it's landing better for some reason.
For sure.
We want to help people, and that's what we're here to do. And I'm sure this internet overwhelming is the same. I'm sure these people are meaning to help, but yes.
It's not to demonize people creating this content, aka us or anyone else. Like, I know that generally people have good intentions, and like we are all sharing from a place of like wanting to help other people. And so that's all great, but it can just be incredibly
confusing.
It also just can be information overwhelm about any topic on the internet right now,
Without
right?
question.
But like self-help is one of these like growing industries
For sure.
that, like anything else, like starts out with good intentions and then can turn into like, I'm trying to sell something. I'm trying to,
Without question.
yeah, and like that can get really overwhelming. And so like I've found that at different points in my life, I can handle that overwhelm or like the flood of like advice and information. And there's other times where it feels completely overwhelming. And I think as we were preparing for this, I think what I wanted to share is like, or I was trying to define when do I feel overwhelmed versus when I don't.
Okay.
And so I tend to not feel overwhelmed when I'm feeling at peace about who I am. Like, I generally am confident in who I am. I love myself. Like, I don't think I'm perfect.
Just
but
life-wise.
I just feel okay about
Okay.
life and who I am.
Totally.
And so then when these things come in, my filter feels clear and I'm able to just see it as perspective. And
Sure.
I'm able to take it or leave it easier. Versus when I'm in a space of thinking something's wrong with me or that I need to fix something about myself or about my life, suddenly I can become very overwhelmed because I'm trying to fix something. I'm looking for answers. I'm looking for solutions. Like, and these perspectives come in and I'm like, well, which one am I supposed to pick? Which one's going to fix me? Which one's going to fix my avoidant attachment style? Which one's going to get me a better job? Which one's going to whatever? You know, like
Specificity.
Yes. I feel passionately about these things. That's a big one, like where my attachment styles are a huge topic for self-help.
Will be an episode
and
at
so,
some point. Yeah.
like that one comes through a lot. When I'm feeling good about where I'm at in my attachment style journey, those types of videos and those opposite takes on it don't impact me the same way when I'm feeling really icky about it. And I'm like, well, what the fuck am I supposed to do? Am I supposed to be dating someone? Am I not supposed to be dating someone? Am I supposed to be focusing on myself? Do I need a therapist? Do I need to be on some fucking medication? Am I a narcissist? Like, you know, it's literally just like
1,000,000,000%.
what? And so I think what maybe I'll tell our listeners, and I don't know if this will help, if you are someone like me who can feel that overwhelm, is if you're starting to feel overwhelmed, ask yourself the question, like, am I trying to fix something about myself? Like, is that why this is feeling so difficult to parse through? Because there feels to be something more at stake than just like me hearing information in a neutral way.
Sure.
Does that make sense?
100%.
Yeah.
In every way. And I think something that I'll add to that is that something that I have to tell myself over and over and over and over and over. I'm an overachiever. I'm an overthinker.
Yeah.
And so those two things together, I'm always in self-development mode. Always.
You definitely.
I never actually just fucking live it. Like, you actually won. Go win.
Yeah,
live your victory.
You've done some work and now just maybe relax.
Yeah, so
for
like
a day.
I have to remind myself that you don't have to develop something every minute of your life. Sometimes it's like, I'm going to focus on this, I'm going to develop it a bit, and then I'm going to live in it for a few months and then see how that feels.
Yeah.
And then try to approach it. And I would say, like, yeah, in some of this overwhelm, maybe that's a moment that you go, hey, let me just apply what I've learned. Let me take a second to actually apply the things that have landed, apply the things that did hit me in the way that they needed to hit me, because what's meant for you will hit you, right?
Yeah.
And so that's been something that's been beneficial for me inside of this.
Yeah, I agree. And I think reminding yourself that you are okay the way you are just in this exact moment. Like, you don't need to fix anything. Like, it's okay to pause. You don't need to constantly be in fix-it mode. Like, I have to say that to myself at times too, because I am also a perfectionist who's just like,
your Virgo is
we gotta get better and all this.
Your Virgo be Virgoing.
Which I love that about both of us.
Same.
Why we're doing this podcast.
Same.
You know what I mean? And hopefully, I imagine the people that listen are similar, you know? And so I think this rant is partially just to be like, does anyone else out there feel like this? Like, it is just to like be like,
comment if you do.
Yeah, like, goddamn, like, I'm overwhelmed, but also like so grateful for the things that I've learned from the people that have created content that have allowed us to then create this content and for us to grow. And you're right, like, just even thinking about, like, we know ourselves, right? Like, we spend time getting to know ourselves and who we are and what we like and what we don't like. And then all of a sudden someone will say something about you in like a different way and it just clicks. Like, we did this human design session with our friend Lindsay. Go check out Aligned by Design. And I know a lot of the things she said about me were things I already knew, but she said it in a way that was different.
It was revealing.
And I was like, oh my gosh. And so now I've been applying it so differently. And so I guess I just, I'm pointing out the positives of like new perspectives and information coming in. But I think
to touch on that, because I've kind of been around you as you're applying those things, it feels like those are things that you knew about yourself before, but they may have been things that you were trying to self-develop.
Yeah.
And now you're realizing, no, it's part of my human design. It's who I am innately. That's not something that needs to be developed. It's just how I am. So the sooner I accept it and I'll be more in flow, then I can use it to my advantage.
For sure.
And so that's how you've been moving. But when it comes to specifically the messages that we're getting on Instagram, on TikTok, on all these things, I want to make another reminder for everybody. Like you just said, you guys are perfect the way you are, and like you don't have to listen to these messages all the time. It doesn't have to and I was like living it for a bit, right? Like all that stuff. Remember that this is a journey, and this journey that we are on in life takes your entire life. There's no victory. There's no end. Right? It's not like I'm just going to go 5 more blocks and I'm there.
You're like,
no.
Sweet, I did it.
No. And to be very clear, the phrase that I'm using all year long is, I'm not the same man and it's not the same river. You're not crossing the same river 10 days from today. I will be a more evolved human in 10 days than I was 10 days ago.
Yeah.
And the topic that I'm broaching will be different.
Yeah.
It will be different. So all of these messages that are coming in, just take them for what they are.
Yeah.
But just also remember that they'll land or they won't. And when it's time to cross a river, whether or not it's been the river that you've crossed before, you're a different person.
Yep.
And the way you see that river is different. And the river itself could be different. And like there's so many different things. So just living where you are. I think I want to say that to you specifically inside this rant of like how you're feeling about it. Because like I'm watching you evolve every minute and you're managing things vastly different today than you did 6 months ago.
Yeah.
And the things that you're managing are very similar, but they're not the same because they evolve as well. So just remember that maybe.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. Okay, so I think for people out there that are like in that overwhelm phase, I wanted to give a couple like tips or tricks or like filters to like put this information through before it hits you. And so I think one of them is like, what are your values, right? And so it's like, does whatever advice is coming through align with just my inherent values? And if it doesn't, it's like a pretty easy like I don't even need to let this further into my life. I don't need to contemplate it. I don't need to.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying there's no value in contemplating other perspectives that aren't yours, but in this state of overwhelm, particularly.
Sure.
Like when we are really trying to limit what reaches our inner sanctum, I think that's like an okay way to say.
For sure.
On to the next.
I have stuff to say to that, but do you want me to wait until you go through your list, or do you want me to say something now?
You can say something now.
The way I like to phrase this is kind of like referring to your diet. Not just the food you're eating and the drinks that you're drinking and stuff like that, but what are you allowing into your life? What are you putting into your life? The shows that you watch, the Instagrams that you follow, the people in the company that you keep, the movies you go to, you know, the clubs that you frequent, like all these different things are part of your diet. It is making, so when you go to Instagram, sometimes you're going to Instagram to veg out. Take stock, like audit. Yeah, like audit your life. Why are you going to Instagram? Are you going there for business? Are you going there to catch up with friends? Are you going there to just fuck around?
Yeah.
Great. All that stuff is great. But just knowing the purpose of being there is significant. And it's going to help you in this state right here.
Totally. So it's like if you're there to just veg out, like skip through the shit that's deep and heavy. Like get to the cat videos.
That part.
Right? Like
if you're there to veg out, blah, 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 blah. I'm not really worried about it. Don't look at... Especially like a good one, I'm going to kind of call him out on this. It's okay, but like Gary Vee, I love Gary Vee. But sometimes Gary Vee's a lot. And I'm like, yo, man, I hustle my ass off and you make me feel like I'm not doing shit. So I unfollowed Gary Vee's ass today. He calmed his ass down. That's part of my diet. That's like, okay, I'm good. I know I'm a hustler.
The messaging you
it's not what I need right now. That's me understanding my diet right now.
Yeah, totally. Well, I think this leads into the other filter really well that like there's times in our life we need different messaging. Right.
Not the same person, not the same river.
Exactly. And so you're saying like right now, I don't need Gary Vee's like advice, but 6
in
months
a month
ago,
I might,
yeah, exactly. And I think
I'll refollow his ass.
Exactly. And I think like a great example I saw was like, okay, if you're in your 20s, maybe the rise and grind shit is the right move.
Totally. Or if you feel like you're slacking, like if I feel like words matter is kind of falling off and haven't been doing my shit or whatever, like, yo, I need to get on my shit. I'm gonna go watch a lot of Dion, and I'm gonna bring Gary back into the mix because he's gonna motivate my ass.
Go. Yeah. Versus being maybe like later in life, maybe you have kids, and it's like it's okay to rest, relax, slow down, be present. And
you're allowed.
And these are stereotypes. Again, pick what works for you. But it's just like the message that worked at one point doesn't have to be the same message. Like the same messages that you take in.
And so it's reframing when you say the overwhelm and like contradicting messaging.
Yeah.
It is contradicting messaging, but I think what I'm starting to gather in this conversation is it's because maybe the person approaching me in this conversation hasn't framed how I want to be here. Why am I here? What's my purpose? Just taking stock and taking an audit of like your purpose on TikTok. I go to TikTok for very different reasons as I go to Instagram.
Yeah.
Without question.
Yeah.
Right?
Same.
Like without question. Same with LinkedIn. People are on LinkedIn for very specific reasons, right? I don't even use LinkedIn because it's annoying as shit.
I don't. Every time I go there, I'm like, I don't want any of this.
I'm about to hang up on that call for sure.
Yeah.
Boop, doop, boop, doop, boop, doop. Okay. Anyways, carry on with your list. I'm sorry.
No, that's pretty much it. Like, I just think those two major filters. It's like
Right.
time and place and
The messaging that you're looking for.
Yes, yeah,
What is it?
exactly.
Your diet, right?
Yep.
The diet that you have. And I think that's
and does it align
significant.
with your values.
Right.
That was the other one. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And for me, why am I here? Right. Like that's so important to take stock. Again, reiterating on this is my diet right now. I feel like I'm going.
Yeah.
Like I'm in go mode. I have been moving. I've been doing all the shit. I don't need Gary Vee telling me that I'm a loser because I didn't get up.
At 5 a.m.
That's kind of how he phrases it sometimes. And I'm like, wait a minute, bro. Calm your ass down. Like I don't need to hear that.
Totally.
So again, not his fault. That's his messaging to the world. My decision to mute that shit or continue to ingest it. That is my decision of that diet.
Yeah.
And so today, we talked about it. I was like, yeah, this isn't serving me right now.
Yeah.
Boop, turn the channel off.
For sure.
Turn the TV off. Turn the TV. Okay. I got a little live on that during the Super Bowl. Okay.
I think the other part of this to remember is that just because it's on the internet doesn't mean it's true.
What do you mean? If it's on the internet, it's law.
It's fact. Exactly. No, it's not. And so, like, it's easy to see something and be like, oh, yeah, that they must be right. It's like, no.
Right. Reminder to the
Complete
people.
bullshit, you know? And
it's okay to think.
yeah, exactly. Like, just, you know.
You don't have to just agree and believe that what you're being fed is
and
law.
like, this is something I think about even with us. Like, we say this, we're not therapists, we're not licensed professionals.
Totally.
What we're sharing is just our perspective, things that have worked for us. We know our lane, right?
Yeah, our lane is better than theirs, but that's okay.
Whoever theirs is. But yeah, all right. And so that is one lane. And so there's that. And then I think there's more like people I pay attention to that are like in academia or do research or are licensed therapists or have like these niche research things. And so when I'm taking in content, I'm like, am I listening to something?
Words matter?
Yeah, like, that perspective. Am I listening to perspective or like research?
That's interesting.
Academics. And I'm not saying that one is actually more valuable than the other necessarily, but it does carry different weights depending on the topic and what they're saying, right?
That's interesting to me. Okay.
Yeah. So I think that is another like filter I use more just like for my bullshit meter. It's like what I don't like is when people that are in the like perspective lane try to pretend they're something they're not.
Sure. Yeah,
That's
for
like
sure.
one of my like biggest, and the other part of me that when we started this podcast, I was like, we will never pretend to be something we're not.
Okay. So rant over, or you got more to say, or you want following some more people? Like, what's going on?
That's the gist of it. I think like my key takeaways.
Like we got space for you, girl. Do what you need. Like
No. I think I've ranted enough probably, but I think my key takeaways from this episode are that like if you're feeling this way, you're not alone. It's fucking overwhelming, and if you need to take a break from this stuff, like take a break. Use like the filters we talked about to like decipher what should be let into your world and what shouldn't, especially in those like feelings of overwhelm. It's okay to disconnect all the way even. And that, you're just not alone and feeling like the world is a lot.
I think my key takeaway is probably more of a reminder is like, yo, especially on these massive accounts, right? Like a Gary Vee, massive account. You think he knows that I unfollowed him today?
Yeah.
Like,
No,
he has
no
no idea. You don't have to mute it or like just swipe it. Unfollow. Get rid of it out of your diet. Completely get rid of sugar, if you will, and no longer eating sugar. People do this all the time. I want to lose some weight. I'm not eating carbs for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Okay, great. And in 2 weeks, what are you doing?
Eating carbs.
Eating the pizza.
Yeah.
All right, bitch. Like, same. Get rid of Gary Vee for 2 weeks and come back when you're ready. Like, you're allowed to just change the channel. You're allowed to turn it off and come back to it later. Don't think that somebody's going to judge you for that. Or it's okay. Just pay attention to your diet. What's working for you now may not be what worked for you then.
Yeah.
And may not be what's working for you in 2 months. It all is ebb and flow. It's a journey.
Yep.
Enjoy the journey.
Love that. Thanks, guys. Thanks for listening to my rant. Sometimes you just gotta
get that shit out.
Exactly.
I feel like you need to dance or something. Like, get it out. Oh.
Okay. Goodbye. That's what I say. Sure.
Whoa. Or did she just not clap at all?
I did.
Was she like hella dainty? She was like...
No, I just was crisp.
She was praying over here.
God helped with that one.
Somebody did something.